Welcome back. If you've joined us before, or if you're brand new to us, welcome to Madeline Island School of Arts. We are hosting a webinar with our good friend, Ian Fennelly. I'll introduce myself. I'm Annie Meach-Sumner. For those of you that don't know me and haven't taken an in-person workshop or joined us on our webinar before with Ian, I have the pleasure of hosting this webinar, and I will be spending the next 90 minutes with you and Ian. He is a celebrated artist, teacher, author, and a wonderful good friend. An interesting fun fact that some of you might not know is that Ian has been to the United States with us 12 times. He'll be joining us 2 more times next year. First time he'll be in Tucson in January. Unfortunately, that workshop is fully booked. So if you're a part of that workshop, well done. You signed up early. And then he's going to be with us in Santa Fe, New Mexico, April 7th through the 11th. And there are just a few spots left. So if you're on the fence, today's the day. Spoil yourself. Get yourself an early Christmas present, an early holiday present, and sign up because the spots are going to go quickly. Before I hand this webinar over to Ian, I'm going to share with you a little bit about how these 90 minutes are going to go. We are going to start with a bit of a slideshow of Ian. How many times have you been to Santa Fe? 3?
This would be my 4th time.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Yeah, and one of the trips was 2 weeks as well. So this
Yes.
will be like my 5th week of work.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, which is great.
It's great. And we're going to see some of the fabulous work that the students and you have done together. And then we're going to enjoy some excerpts from Ian's new book. He's going to read to us some sketching stories, some of the stories that happened in Santa Fe with us. And then, spoiler alert, there's going to be a competition at the end. You'll have an opportunity to win a signed copy of Ian's new book, Sketching Stories. But before we do the competition, he's going to do a quick 3-part workshop. So have your fine liners, 0.3 preferably, your A3 or A4 size paper, and a gray brush pen ready to go. We'll run our competition, like I said, and then as always, we'll have time for Q&A. If you have questions for Ian, pop them in our chat box, and we'll try to get to them, as many of them as soon as possible. But you're kind of in for the most 90 minutes of fun with us. Educational, informational, funny. What else, Ian?
Do you know you put me under so much pressure here, Annie?
With all the things that you've said, all those lovely things you've mentioned already.
Wow.
That's so nice.
With all that said, I'm going to hand this off to you. I'm going to be here in the background, just filling in little tidbits that you forget. Because you're multitasking, you're talking and you're going to be doing a demo. So I'm here to help you, like I am in all of our workshops, in-person workshops, just to assist you and get you through this webinar.
Thank you.
So hats off. Take it away.
Thank you, Annie. Thank you. That was a lovely, lovely introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm sure most of you know Star Trek. I feel like Captain Kirk at the moment. And I'm on the bridge because I have got so much technology around me. And for a creative person, this is so intimidating. So I've got my iPad in front of me. I've got my laptop over to the left. I've got my phone, which isn't working. I've got my webcam above me. And I've got my tablet over on the right-hand side. And I've got 4 lamps all around me. So I feel like I'm about to take off and go into outer space, which is just great. And it takes me back to the old days of when we couldn't travel, and I did lots and lots and lots of online workshops. I did quite a few with MISA as well. So this is just lovely, and it's lovely that so many people have joined me on this this workshop. So let me kind of explain what's going to happen. We're going to do like a little bit of a slideshow now, where we're going to showcase some of my pictures from Santa Fe, but not just downtown Santa Fe, but also from Ghost Ranch as well. Because when I do workshops in New Mexico, we kind of focus on 2 different locations. We do downtown Santa Fe, which is right by the hotel where we stay, and then we also go up to Ghost Ranch, which is about an hour and a half north. So the idea now is you can just sit back and you can just look at some of the pictures that I've created, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my inspiration behind them and what my focus is in these kind of sketches that I'm doing. And then also I'm going to read you some extracts as well from my new book, which is called Sketching Stories. And I've got a copy of it here. And it's all about sketching stories. That's why it's called Sketching Stories. And it's got loads and loads of stories that happen to me while I'm out and about on location. Then we're going to do a quick workshop, about 30 minutes, and we'll talk through that beforehand. And I'm going to focus on a landscape in New Mexico of the sandstone fin. And then we're going to run a competition for somebody to win a personalised signed copy of my new book, Sketching Stories. But just before we start, can I just sort of talk generally a little bit? Annie, you can hear me, can't you?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, good. I just want to talk generally, really, about working with MISA, because I've been with MISA now for nearly 3 years, and as Annie said in the introduction, I've done about 12 workshops, and for me personally, it's a real privilege to work with Annie and Charlie and Christy and the whole team, because they look after me so well. The locations are wonderful, the studio spaces are great, and because of MISA, I've been able to come over from England and I've been able to capture stories of America. And I've had the opportunity to go to places that I never ever dreamt I would go to. So it's been a big part of my career over the last 3 years. And it's lovely to have this opportunity tonight just to share some of the work that I have done. So I just thought I'd embarrass everybody on the team tonight and just mention that. So shall we show the first picture, please, Annie, on the slideshow?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. So this is the first picture, and this was a demonstration sketch I did a couple of years ago. This is the Loretto Hotel. And obviously, as an urban sketcher, one of the things that you're really focusing in on is perspective. And the great thing about this is it's got a lot of perspective, because it's basically two planes that come together at right angles. But then within that, within the shape of the building, you've got all these different elevations and bits that kind of cut out and stick in and build up on top of each other. So this was quite a challenging subject, but this was one of the I think one of the third ones or fourth ones we did during the course of the week. So we wouldn't have dived straight in with this one. And also the colour in this one has been treated in a very kind of abstract way. So hopefully you can notice that as you look at the right-hand side, it's very, very cold. And then as it sweeps across, it goes from cold to warm. And it captures the blue, the green and the brown, the red, the orange and the yellow, which is completely made up. So this would just be like a teaching point about using colour in a very abstract way, but then on top of the colour, you've got lots of kind of tone work, which brings it back to realism again. So this is just a really nice way of treating a very, very complicated drawing with a much more kind of fun way of applying colour. Should we see the next one, please? This is the is it the Native American Museum?
New Mexico. I think it's I thought it was a New Mexico museum, but you're probably right.
Yeah. So anyway, this is just around the corner from the hotel.
Yeah.
And I've tackled this subject a few times. And what I love about this is the architecture is so typical of downtown Santa Fe, with all those lovely kind of curved contour lines and the huge big joists that stick out and those kind of organic shapes that you can see within the building, which kind of echo the tree over on the other side. You know, it's a kind of nice kind of balance between the two. And obviously the tree on the left-hand side is framing everything in really nicely. And it's just for me, for somebody coming over from England, you know, to tackle these subjects, it's a real treat because you don't see this where I live in Hoylake, a little fishing village on the northwest corner of England, and you don't see this kind of thing. You know, this is what sketching outside is all about. It's discovering new places and just loving the space that you were in and wanting to capture it in the most visually interesting and dynamic way that you can. Now, this is the old trail in downtown Santa Fe, and it's on the plaza. So those of you that know Santa Fe, it's right in the middle of the town itself, and it's the old Santa Fe trail that kind of cuts through, which looks nothing like what you'd imagine an old trail to look like. And this was my very first ever workshop subject with MISA three years ago. So you can imagine how exciting it was for this, you know, this guy from England to come all the way over to this incredible part of New Mexico and just be right in the heart of the city, and just being able to teach people how to draw a subject like this.
And I remember the first time you came to Santa Fe and your head was spinning. I mean,
just spinning around.
Walking, Charlie and I walked you around Canyon Road, and I mean, when you saw a yellow fire hydrant, you just stopped you in your tracks.
I know. I mean, it's desperately sad. I don't get out enough, everybody. You know, I really have such a sheltered life. I get so excited about things like fire hydrants and yellow school buses, and you know, it's quite sad, really. But I think seriously, on a serious note, that's curiosity, isn't it? I think as artists, as visuals, you know, we just want to be captivated by the world, and we want to be able to draw it. And so this is a special sketch for me. In fact, it's so special, I wrote a story about it.
Ian, before you read your story, how many people are in your workshops usually?
15.
15 is sort of the max. And do you walk to these places?
Yeah, well, this particular one we walk to because it's about a 10-minute walk. But I think Ghost Ranch will be about 6 hours, so we tend to drive there, don't we?
Yeah, we drive. But I always sort of, you know, will drive a car of people up there with their equipment and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's one great thing about MISA. You know, you do have such great, you know, access for the opportunities for people to take a car ride to some of these locations if they're quite tricky to get to. I mean, this one's not too bad. It's only 10 minutes away, but some of the other ones, like the San Miguel Chapel that we'll be looking at in a moment, that's about a 20-minute walk, and not a lot of people can, well, not everyone can walk those kind of distances. So it's great that you have, you know, vehicles on hand, and you have them in all the locations as well. And like in Arizona, where I'm going to in January, you've got little golf buggies as well. But you don't drive, do you? There's people that do that for you. You don't.
Yes. In Tucson, we do little golf buggies or golf carts. We like to call them too.
Yeah.
But buggy sounds better. But tell us, there was something amazing that happened in this spot.
This is called a play in the plaza. Now, if anybody is on this Zoom and you've heard this before, I'm just going to apologize. Okay. In fact, some of you have probably heard it loads of times. And if Don Kirkendall is on it, he was actually there. He experienced it. Okay. So it's called a play in the plaza because it was in the plaza and I wrote part of it like a play. And I got into big trouble with Annie's dad over this one. I was in the main plaza in Santa Fe, sketching the old Santa Fe trail, which looks nothing like an old trail. It's a modern street with shops and bars, but it sounds great. I had 15 students, and we were getting towards the end of the workshop. It had been a glorious day. The weather had kept warm and sunny, and lots of curious locals had stopped to watch and ask questions. There'd been no traffic apart from the odd delivery van, and the subject had been an inspiration for us all. Then along came Bianca Martinez, a local traffic officer wearing a cap and a uniform. She didn't look happy, and she walked up to me. Excuse me, what are you doing? I'm teaching a workshop. Well, you shouldn't be here. I'm sorry, but why? Because you're causing an obstruction to the traffic. But there's no traffic. This area is sectioned off. But if there was traffic, you'd be blocking the access. There's no traffic. That's not the point. I'm a traffic officer. Would you like to see my badge? No, thank you. That was the wrong answer. And at that point, her tone changed. I hadn't meant to sound rude, but I was tired and I just wanted to finish my sketch, and I really had no interest in seeing her back. Have you got a permit to be here? I didn't think I needed a permit. Well, you do. Any group activity in the main plaza requires a permit. Okay, that's fine. I didn't realise. I'm sorry. I'm going now. And Bianca walked off, and I packed away my sketching stuff, and I headed back to the hotel with the remainder of the students. As I was walking across the plaza, I spotted her queuing up for a hot dog. So I approached her. Excuse me, can I have a word? Yes, go on. She was concentrating on the menu and trying to decide what to order. Tomorrow, I'm planning on teaching another workshop with my students across the street outside the Native American Museum. Well, if I see you causing an obstruction without a permit, I'll ask you to move. She was now at the front of the queue. Okay, well, the day after, I'll be 2 blocks away sketching the San Miguel Chapel. Well, if I see you causing an obstruction without permits, I'll ask you to move. She was now placing her order, a small dog with extra onions. Okay, on Thursday, I'll be at the rail yard sketching the level crossing. Well, if I see you causing an obstruction without permits, I'll ask you to move. And so it continued. I felt a bit frustrated by her answers, and I was feeling really tired, and I didn't think Bianca was listening to me, and I couldn't help myself. Okay, on Friday, I'm going to stay in my hotel room all alone. I'm going to lock the door, I'm going to sit on the bed, and I'm going to sketch the view through the window. She had hold of her hot dog and was about to take her first mouthful. Well, if I see you causing an obstruction without permits, I'll ask you to move. I got into so much trouble for that. So I came back and I shared this story with Annie's dad, Charlie, who then actually told me, well, you did have a permit, that was your fault. And then the next day you get a phone call from Bianca Martinez, who, by the way, is not called Bianca Martinez. I kind of changed her name a little bit, to say that she'd been in touch to say to Charlie that one of your instructors has been a bit lippy.
Clearly, you don't really, someone in uniform didn't really scare you. You just sort of followed her around. And by the way, Kimberly Clark was there, and she's joining us this evening. And Kimberly said, she's got your back. She's your mate. She said you handled it with grace.
Thank you so much. And Kimberly, I hope you appreciate how my stories are a little bit like my drawings. They start off with a little bit of truth, and then I just run with it, and they just become really exaggerated. Okay, so I write in the same way in which I sketch and I paint. Okay, right, this is the next one. This is the Santa Fe rail yard. And this was a really challenging subject. So my subjects that I choose, they're not easy ones. I don't go for easy motifs. I like to go for fairly complicated ones because we spend the whole day on the one subject, and it's built up in lots and lots of layers and steps. And I feel that if I can challenge the students, then everyone's going to learn so much more, and then everyone's going to be really happy afterwards because you come away feeling empowered. So this one was tricky, obviously, with the perspective of the railway tracks and how everything disappears into the distance. And then obviously you've got all the signage as well. I love signage because that's helping to tell the story. But the most important thing for me is that wonderful water tower. Because before I came to Santa Fe, I'd obviously done lots of research into the location, and I was really excited when I found out there was a water tower. And it's a bit like the same thing, with the fire hydrants. It's desperately sad. I need to get out a lot more. But I just get excited about these things because they're so cool to sketch. So this was a great subject. And I've been back here, I think, 2 times now to this same location, but I've not done it from exactly the same angle. I've always chosen a different angle. Next one, please.
Is this an active railway?
Oh yeah. Oh, it is. Oh, definitely. Yeah, because the trains end just over behind us, just to the left. That's where they kind of they finish. Now, this is a really special sketch for me. This is in the grounds of the cathedral. And what what I loved so much about, I mean, I love the subject, but it's really, really complex in lots and lots of ways with all the different levels of foreground and midground and kind of background. But this was a subject when I was doing research, and Annie's great because we walk around the town quite a bit, don't we? And we look at different locations and we try and work out, is there going to be enough space for the students? Is the light going to be okay? Are we going to get killed by a van or something? And so all those things are important because you don't want to get killed, obviously. But with this one, it was great because it took a long time to actually kind of appreciate that this was going to work so well as a subject. And oops, we've moved on.
Go ahead, keep going. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa.
That's the one. That's the one. So this was great because it was a real chat.
Hold on. Hold on.
Slideshow's bouncing all over the place here, isn't it? We're giving all the other ones away.
Someone's getting fired.
I know. This is the one. Just stay on this one for a few more sentences, guys, okay? Just bear with me on this. So what I loved about this was the fact that it just took such a long time to actually find all of this wonderful composition where all these kind of different elements came together. And it only really works because we're behind the railings and we're in the grounds of the cathedral. So the foreground is made up with that wonderful kind of iron railing and the two stone posts either side, and then you can jump beyond that into the street scene. And then that turquoise building, that's the governor's palace, isn't it, Annie? Is that right?
The turquoise building is just up from Governor's Palace. That's more of a retail spot. But yes, if you just kept walking down that sidewalk, you would absolutely.
Yeah. It's very similar architecture, isn't it? It's quite low level,
right?
Really, really pretty.
Gorgeous turquoise and you know, just wonderful. You sort of stopped in your tracks when you saw this.
I did, and that turquoise is everywhere, isn't it? It's great. Yeah, and I love cobalt turquoise. It works really well with the pink as well. So if we just move on to the next one, because I think pink is quite appropriate for the next slide.
Second. There we go.
Is this is the pink? This
Adobe.
is the pink Adobe.
Yeah, it's a wonderful restaurant.
Yeah, yeah. Now this is right opposite the San Miguel Chapel, which we'll see in a moment. And the San Miguel Chapel is amazing because it's like the oldest church in America, isn't it? It's wonderful. And everyone goes to kind of look at that. But when you kind of turn around and look across the road, you see this building, which is kind of like a bit neglected and a bit unloved and a bit lost and forgotten. But when you actually start looking at it, it's just the most really visually stunning shape for a kind of outline of a building. So what I love about this, and this works for a lot of the workshops I do in America, is sometimes the big ticket items, the big classic views are not always the ones that are going to make the most interesting sketch. Sometimes it's the really ordinary little buildings, like this cute little thing across the road from the chapel, which is just crying out for attention because the chapel gets all the fuss and this place gets ignored. So it was so grateful that we sat there all day and we sketched it. It could not thank us enough, which was lovely.
Ian, your jousts and your beams on all of these buildings are incredible. Do you enjoy putting them in?
It's so much fun, and they are slightly exaggerated. And that's, I guess, one of the storytelling things, Annie, about sketching on location. You know, the things that you find interesting, you can kind of exaggerate them. You know, they can jump out at you. And this, obviously, this now is the San Miguel Chapel. So this is right opposite. This was, I think, my second ever workshop. So the first one I did was the old Santa Fe Trail one. And then this was the second one I did about 3 years ago. But on this day, it was freezing cold. It had been snowing. So what I decided to do was to warm myself up and warm the students up. We just put lots of gorgeous, yummy, warm colours in the picture. So you're kind of using colour in a very subjective kind of way. It's not just about describing the scene, but it's about using it as an emotional tool as well to kind of probably make you feel a bit more positive about what's going on if you're feeling a bit chilly. Now, this is the sandstone fin, and this is on the way up to, so we've left Santa Fe now, we're heading north, up to Ghost Ranch, and this is about a mile before you turn in. And this was just incredible. This just took our breath away when we saw it, Annie. And this is the same subject that we're going to be doing for the workshop in about 10 or 15 minutes. Not exactly the same photograph as this, or not exactly the same angle as this, but very, very similar.
Yeah.
But we're just doing the black and white line version of it. So this is all about taking a line for a walk and varying the thickness of the line and just letting the line loose on the page to kind of go roaming around the scene in a way that you're trying to capture all those cracks and contour lines and ridge lines that you can see in a very natural and intuitive way. And then this is the same subject, but from a different angle. And the focus in this one is a little bit different because this is very much more about how you can compose an image on a page, keep lots and lots of white space around as well. So obviously the top left and the bottom right is just space. So this subject, this workshop would have been teaching the students how to actually use the blank page in a very positive kind of way. You know, you don't need to fill the page. I mean, our teachers at school used to always tell us, you know, fill the page, because they were so mean with paper. But I kind of teach the opposite. You know, you don't have to fill the page. It's nice to keep those big white spaces going for you.
Is this called a floater, would you say?
Not really. No, because the right-hand corner goes off the edge of the page. It's kind of like a bit of it wants to be a floater, but it's not quite there. But it's kind of flirting with the idea of being a floater, but not quite. And then this is going into Ghost Ranch now, and as you kind of walk through, you see these wonderful rock formations and mountains, and then you've got the remains of these old fences. And I've got another story that links in with this one. So I think as I'm reading the story, maybe we can just move on to the next slide, kind of halfway through the story, if that's okay. And this is called Necklaces and Landscapes. And this story is a little bit about inspiration and how the inspiration for this picture and the next one came about. So Ghost Ranch is an hour north of Santa Fe and is where Georgia O'Keeffe had her studio. It's a vast landscape of open beauty, very dramatic and inspiring. As you turn into the ranch off the main highway, you can see an old wooden shack and an isolated tree just sitting doing nothing. Part of the area is fenced off with old rickety posts strapped together. Rugged mountains sit in the background, and it looks like the big American picture in all its beauty, waiting patiently to be sketched. On the way down, we passed a sandstone fin, which had given me the idea of using the white of the pane to capture space. It also took me back to the films I'd watched years ago on TV, set in the Wild West of America. A few days earlier, I'd been in downtown Santa Fe, wandering around the shops, and I popped into a large jewelry store on the main plaza, and I met the owner, a dear old lady called Janice. She explained to me that her family had owned the shop for several generations, and we got chatting. A lot of the pieces on display had been made from turquoise stone that had been mined locally. They'd been turned into the most beautiful necklaces, bracelets and rings, which she was proud to show me. And cobalt turquoise light is perhaps my favourite colour, and it was wonderful to see it crafted into jewellery. So while out at Ghost Ranch, sketching the landscapes, the colour made its way into the scene, and in particular, the space in between the wooden fence and the gate posts. It was an exciting starting point for the sketch. This powerful and distinctive colour, which is so typical of Santa Fe and features in so many beautiful crafted pieces of art, being used as a way of suggesting space and gaps. The colour became an expanse of nothing. An inspiration can come from all sorts of different directions, and a necklace can inspire a landscape. I love finding colours to connect with, even if they belong on a small stone set within a brooch. You don't have to draw the brooch. If you're an urban sketcher, it's probably not your thing, but the colour can be applied to anything, even a vast panorama. So that story just kind of gives you a bit of an insight into where inspiration comes from. And I think as an artist, you kind of keep your mind open. So you can be in a jewellery shop and you can see the colour in a brooch, and that colour just kind of connects with you in some way because it's gorgeous, it's different, it's unique, and it stays with you. And that colour can then be applied to a landscape. And the same thing happened to me not so long ago, and we talked about this recently, Annie, you know, when we were in Bar Harbour and we saw those amazing trees in Bar Harbour just a couple of months ago. And those colours, those really deep, rich reds, which were just gorgeous, they kind of wove their way into all sorts of different pictures, not pictures of trees, but just other pictures, because the colour, it just kind of connects, you know, inside you, and it stays with you, and then you want to apply it to all sorts of things. And that's inspiration. You know, inspiration just doesn't have to be copying something literally. It can be just kind of opening your eyes, opening up your heart to things that just come inside you, and then applying it. You know, that's for me how it works anyway.
It's gorgeous, Ian. This is such a great one. I mean, and it's so iconic of Santa Fe. I mean, you could really in Santa Fe, they've got the turquoise doors and the adobe buildings, and you know, turquoise obviously is a big part of Santa Fe, but the fact that you could apply it in this landscape is incredible.
On this picture, you can hopefully see how on the left-hand side, just behind the corral, the turquoise is used as the space behind the negative space in between the planks of wood. But over on the right-hand side, the space behind is white, and the turquoise is applied within the wood itself. So one is like negative space and the other's positive space. And that's a great little teaching point as well for the students. You know, I think everyone really likes that idea, that concept of how you can use positive and negative space with the same colour. And it just stops everything from being too repetitive, you know, too uniform, too obvious, really. It's that little visual challenge that you can apply to something. And once you know that, you can apply it to all sorts of things.
I can just hear Steph Chen saying, why turquoise? Just because.
Because we can.
Because you can, exactly.
Right.
You're in charge.
Okay. I think we've got a few more, haven't we? So this again is in Ghost Ranch. This is just as you turn in, and this is the lonely tree. And again, you know, there's a couple of things in this. It's so iconic for me. It's got that bottle cap mountain in the background. The tree's obviously fallen out with all its friends. It's really lonely. But again, that big expanse of nothing, just using the white of the paper to kind of describe that huge big prairie. Is it a prairie? The bottom part.
Yes. Well, these things go back to that petrified tree again. These petrified trees are all over the place in Ghost Ranch, aren't they?
There was a few of them. There wasn't that many. This was the best one.
Yeah.
There was a few others that were kind of like not quite as interesting as this one.
This one stuck out for those of us. Yeah.
This one was amazing. I just loved how the branches came right down onto the ground as well. You know, it just seemed like it wanted to tell its own story.
Great. It's just a beautiful location, and you've been there a couple times, and honestly, there's so many different angles and views from this prairie.
Yeah.
That you
we'll do this one again. This will be definitely on the cards for April. This one.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
Yeah.
Good
so
stuff.
let's have a look at the next one. This is the next one. I think is this Chimney Stack Mountain? again, this is iconic, isn't it? You can see this for miles. It's a bit of a hike to get there, but it's well worth getting up there. And again, for me, as someone, coming over from England and seeing these landscapes, which are so incredibly different from anything we see in the UK, it's just so inspiring, and you just want to capture it in all sorts of different ways. So again, on this one, you can see all those continuous lines that cut across and kind of slightly jumping around and changing direction and changing the thickness as well, which is so cool.
And this particular picture blew me away with the ability that your students, I mean, again, Ian, when you're doing these workshops, you're like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And if anyone wants to join us, go for it. And Ian actually wanted to get a better view. So his group just, they just wanted to be with him. They wanted to accomplish not only getting the perfect picture on their phones, they wanted to be with Ian when he got to the very top. And it was just an incredible, I mean, I have a great picture of you and Cheryl and Jim just sort of high-fiving each other when you got to the very top of this and found this view. It just, I kept being like, I think it's good here. And you're like, no, I think we should go higher. I can see it fine just here. No, we're going to keep going.
Yeah, it took about 2 days to get there. Yeah, I think there's still a few students up there now that haven't come back. And then I think this is the last one in the slideshow, am I right?
I believe so. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so this is the sandstone fin. This is the third one now of this particular rock formation that we're going to be sketching in a moment, just from a different angle. And I just want to talk a little bit about this, because this will hopefully help us with the workshop in a moment, because one of the things that we're going to focus in on with the workshop is the various lines that you can see and how you can change the thickness of them and how they kind of jump around. So when the horizontals meet the verticals, they kind of jump a little bit, which is really, really cool. But you've also got some real variety of thickness as well. And then as they all kind of cascade down, you can see all the kind of broken stones and rocks. And that's the kind of playful part of the sketch, because a lot of them have been turned into kind of sweeties. There's all sorts of different patterns and textures and lines going on there as well. So as much variety as possible on the ground, because otherwise in reality, it's kind of not that exciting on the ground. And you can kind of see it just behind the picture of Annie, because it's almost the same angle. You can see all of those rocks and stones that have just fallen down as well. So there's a bit of invention going on there. But then on the actual body itself of the sandstone fins, a lot of very careful observation going on. And there's also perspective as well. As you can see the two sides of it, you see the side elevation and the front elevation, and the lines are kind of wrapping their way around as well. So there's a lot of perspective going on there, which we'll be doing in the sketch.
What I noticed with this, Ian, and Ian, after each workshop at the end of the day, does these fabulous, gorgeous critiques, throwdowns, I should say, not critiques, each day, and it's a different one. And I feel like your students, after this particular one, they had so much fun with this. The color, the perspective, the texture, everyone just had so much positive things to say about it. And I think you made it really fun for them.
I try to. Yeah, I try to. I mean, one of the things that is important to me, and it's really important to me, is that everyone enjoys it. You've got to enjoy this, and I try everything I can to make the experience as fun as possible. So I tell jokes, tell stories. We do this thing called urban stretching. When people get a bit stiff in the neck, we get up and we start moving around. So it's called urban stretching, which is kind of cool.
In Tucson, you did some dancing with your students.
We do dancing. We put things like Saturday Night Fever on, and we go dancing around the tables. And then I play guitar, and we sing songs as well. And all of that is kind of important. It's not a distraction, because it's all part of the experience of hopefully enjoying yourselves and giving of yourself as well. Because people have to trust me that everything's going to be okay. People have to feel secure because they're giving so much of themselves as well. You know, we're working in a digital world where, you know, people are putting their marks and their lines and their colours down for other people to look at. So they've got to trust that everything's going to be okay. And I think all this other stuff hopefully helps them feel more relaxed and confident, and they know that it's going to be okay. And it's my way of disguising that the subjects are so hard. The subjects are really, really hard.
Don't give away all your secrets.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to draw that scene. And I'm going to do it in 3 parts, everybody. Okay? The first part is I'm going to do the outline. Hopefully you can all see this on the screen. Now the outline is basically focusing on the big shapes, very simple lines, and a little bit of perspective, like I mentioned before. And that's going to take me, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes. And I'm going to use this Tombow brush pen. And I'm going to use the fine liner parts. And the reason I'm going to use this is because it's black and it's going to stand out really clearly on the screen. So you'll be able to see it. Then the next stage, I'm going to put some tone work on. And to help me with the tone work, I'm going to use these Tombow brush pens. So I've got a warm mid-grey, I've got a cool mid-grey, and I've got a light grey. Now, don't worry if you haven't got the same ones. That's the 79, that's the 60, and that's the 95. But don't worry if you've not got the same ones. As long as you've got some greys, that's okay. And then for the final stage, which is the detail stage, that stage there, okay, we're going to focus on texture and a little bit of realism. And to help me with that, I'm going to use all of these fine lines. So these are permanent black fine liners, okay? So brush pen for the outline, brush pen for the tone, fine liners for the detail. And the whole thing's going to take maybe 30 minutes or so. Now I do work really quickly, so I'll pause in between each stage for you. Okay, so don't kind of worry if you can't keep up, because we'll have a little break in between each step. Okay. I'm going to do this. I'm going to try and draw really slowly now, everybody. I normally draw really quickly, but I'm going to try and draw really slowly. I'm going to start off with the left-hand edge of the sandstone fin. And you see that line? That's a bit of a wobbler. Can you see? It's not a straight line. It's a wobbly line. It's going to come right up to the top. Maybe I just move my sketchbook down a little bit. Like that. It's going to come down, goes up, it's dropping all the way down like this. Drops down like that, and then it's going to come back up like that. Okay, so that's basically the shape of the sandstone fin. Now, it's not quite right because obviously I've just drawn it really, really quickly. But what I can do now is if I want to make it bigger on the left-hand side, all I have to do is a little bit of an extension like that. Can you see? And then suddenly it's bigger. And then this line becomes one of the contour lines inside. And then from here now, it can come down like this, like that. So actually a little bit of perspective going on here like that. Can you see? So let me just show you with the pen. So what's happening here is it's spinning all the way around. So we're actually introducing a little bit of perspective in this. And then we'll do some more lines on the inside. Coming down, going backwards and forwards. So this now is just taking a line for a walk. So I'm not drawing like specific cracks or contour lines. I'm just kind of glancing up and just getting a kind of feel for the patterning that's going on. Now watch how these verticals come down, because when they hit the horizontals, they sort of change direction. They kind of jump a little bit. Okay, so I'm just gonna pause. I've not finished step 1 yet, but I'm just gonna pause for a few moments just to kind of let people catch up. So if I was doing a workshop with MISA and this was step 1, I probably would pause at this stage because everyone would be watching me. They wouldn't be working at the same time because that's kind of impossible. And I'd probably pause at this point and let everybody take a photograph. They've got a record of this pass. And then I do a little bit more drawing. And this is still step 1, all step 1. Do a little bit more work on step 1, and they could take another photograph. So when the students start their own work, they've obviously got 2 photographs of my step 1. So they can kind of see the very beginnings, and then they can see the next parts as well. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit more on this. Now, over on the left-hand side, we've just got this kind of mountain range here like this. And then we'll do a little suggestion of some of these rocks and stones that we can see. And these are going all the way down to the bottom, which you can't see. They are there, trust me. I won't go right down to the bottom because you can't see the bottom edge of the page. Do a few more of these now. And then in the foreground, we have got these big boulders. Got to be very, very careful with these boulders because you could easily trip over. Let me just move that up a little bit so you can see. Okay, so that's enough there. Move that down a little bit. Pop a few more of these lines in. So hopefully you can see how I'm trying to use a continuous line as much as I can, because it adds to the drama and the expression, and it makes it more exciting and more interesting. Because otherwise, if you sort of do every line separately, I just end up falling asleep. But doing it this way, it's so much more fun. So these just change. Hopefully you can just see how they're changing direction slightly because we've got that almost on a different plane. That part, so it wraps itself around at 90 degrees. Okay, and that, everybody, is step number 1. So let me just kind of go back to what the focal point was on this. It was big shapes, simple lines, and perspective. There's not a lot of perspective, but there is some perspective on this, especially here, as it curves itself around like that, and also here as it drops down and it goes up. So I'm just gonna pause now, everybody, and just let you all catch up. Oh, Kylie's just said, can you read that out because it's disappeared from me?
Yeah, of course I can. Kylie, let's hear what Kylie just said.
That was so lovely.
Kylie just said, since Santa Fe will be my first in-person with Ian, this really helps takes away some of the anxiety. Oh, Kylie,
Wow.
we can't wait to meet you in person.
Wow. Kylie, so why were you anxious about meeting me?
Well,
Do I seem
maybe Steph
scary?
should answer that for you.
Do I seem scary?
Oh, and Steph will be there too. Oh, this is going to be no fun.
Right, we've been going for an hour. Okay, and we've got more stuff to do. So I'm going to move on. So before we move on, everyone, let me just kind of very quickly remind you of what step 2 is about. Step 2 is all about tone. And tone is just black and white and all the bits in between. Now the focal point for this next part is the depth and solidity. Also a little bit of realism as well, but I kind of pop that in the third part. And to help me with this, everybody, I'm going to use the Tombow brush pens, but I'm going to use the black as well. So this is the N60, which is the cold mid-grey, the 79, which is the warm mid-grey, and the 95, which is the light mid-grey. And I'm going to mainly use the brushy part of them. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the 79. Now watch this. It's so cool. Look at this. I'm using the brushy parts. I mean, seriously, how cool is that? Can you see? I'm not really bothering with the lines. I'm kind of just working alongside the lines. You don't really want to work inside the lines because that just makes it too obvious. So I'm kind of going alongside them. But then if I press really hard, you see how thick that line is, and then less pressure, it goes a little bit thinner, and then it goes thick again. Like that. See? Just backwards and forwards. Which is varying the pressure. It's all about pressure. So thick lines with lots of pressure, and then hardly any pressure at all. Like that.
Rebecca's Turner is her first in-person workshop will be in Santa Fe as well. Rebecca, we can't wait to meet you. And Dale Kirkendall is on this webinar as well. Hi, Dale.
Hey, Dale.
Dawn talks all about you.
Well,
He's wondering if he could be an in-person day student in Santa Fe, Ian. And we've had lots of in-person day students.
that is so cool, Dale. Can't wait to meet you. So that's all been done with the N79, but I'm just going to do a little bit of work on these rocks as well, like this. I want to make these ones a little bit darker. And what it's also doing is it's smudging. I don't know whether you can tell, but it's actually smudging some of the black as well. So it's actually going a little bit darker when it hits the black. Now, this is the 95 now, which is the light grey. So this is going to go in the background here, like this. And this just makes a little bit of a contrast between the midground, which is the sandstone thin, and obviously the background. And then I can use it down here as well as a bit of a blending tool. And then over here as well. But this, a subject like this is so great for practicing line work. And when I say practice and line work, you know, there's certain skills that we're trying to focus on here. One is this continuous line work, which is very gestural and organic. And then the other one is varying the thickness, which we haven't really done yet. We'll be doing that a bit later on. But just getting that variety of thickness in the line work. So that was the N95. So now it's the 60. Now this is, if you're not familiar with these brush pens, this is the same tonal value as the first one, the 79. But this is just a colder version of it, really. And it's nice to have that contrast between the two in terms of temperature. So you've got your cold grey value and you've got your warm grey value. And the two of them just sit side by side really nicely. And it's not really about depth. I'm not trying to create the warm coming forward and the cold coming backwards, because that just gets a bit too kind of restrictive. It's more using it in a much more playful, ambiguous kind of way. Okay, so that's all done with the 60. Now, the final part of this, everyone, is going back to the black, which we used at the very beginning. But this time, I'm going to use the brushy part. So remember before, when I sketched the outline, it was all done with the fine liner part. Now, it's the thick part. Now watch this. This is one of the superpowers of these brush pens. So that's all the black, and now I'm going to use the light grey to blend it in. So watch this. For the shadow, isn't that cool? Can you see? See how it just blends in like that? So good. And again, I'm sorry I get so excited about this. I do need to get out more. And then down here now, I'm going to vary the thickness of these gaps in between. Can you see? And then here as well. So it's taking a line for a walk, but I'm just varying the pressure. Can you see that? Just coming this way. And then I want to make some of these boulders stand out. So noticing where the light source. So on the photograph, the light source is coming over from the right-hand side. So the left-hand side needs to be a little bit in shadow. So I've just switched very quickly to the fine liner part, just to get a bit more texture in these kind of boulders at the bottom, just so we can read what they are. Otherwise, they look a little bit too ambiguous. And then to the brushy parts. So there's a real cluster of rocks on this part here, which I'll do in the final stage. I'll be doing this in the detail stage. But I just want to grab a few of them now while I've got the brush pen in my hand. Okay, so that's probably enough, everybody, in step number 2, where the focus was on tone, and we've got one more step to do, which is the detail. So I'll just pause for a few minutes, and just while I'm waiting for everyone to spend a bit longer on this sketch, can I just mention that if anybody's on Instagram or Facebook and you want to show these sketches, could you please tag MISA in, and could you tag me in as well, especially on Instagram, because then we can kind of dive in and have a little look and make a comment. So if you've got an Instagram account and you're proud of the sketch that you're doing with us, could you please just post it and tag Madeline Island School of the Arts and Ian Fennelly? That's me, by the way, in case you didn't know. And then we can have a little look at them. you know, 4 years ago, during that COVID time, I did this all the time. Like every week, I was doing one of these. I'd forgotten what it was like, you know, to be in the USS Enterprise, surrounded by buttons and screens and lights and talking to myself.
It's from someone asking, how do you decide where to put the warm and cooler tones? Are you still referencing the picture, or are you doing it more on your own insight?
Yeah, that's a good point, really. It's more because a lot of people would use the warm and the cool, obviously, to create depth, so that the cool's jumping forward and the cold is pushing back. But I tend to not really do that because I just think it's a bit too obvious. So I do it more because I think the two of them just work really nicely side by side. They kind of complement each other. So I do it in a much more kind of not random, but more abstract kind of way, and focus really on their tonal value rather than their temperature. But I use them for variety mainly because they just look different and they sit side by side really nicely. So you can see down here at the bottom, you can see the contrast. You've got your warm and your cold, and they just sit really nice together. And that's kind of how I use them. Okay, right. I'm going to move on, everybody, because I'm just conscious of time, because we said this would be like 90 minutes and we've only got 15 minutes left. And we need to do the competition as well. Don't forget. So don't go away because we're doing a competition. Okay, so the final stage, everyone, let me just remind you, it's detail, and we're going to focus on texture, pattern, and realism. Not too much realism, obviously, because we haven't got time, but a lot of texture and a lot of pattern. And to help me, I've got these 4 pens. I've got 0.3, I've got a 0.2, I've got another 0.3, I've got 2 of them. And I've got this Uniball, which is a water-soluble pen, which is great, but obviously don't put paint on afterwards. But we're not putting paint on. So this is really going to be taking another line for a walk again, kind of inside the lines that we've already done. So if you can just see what I'm doing here, I'm just going backwards and forwards, just adding more and more texture, realism, and then a few more kind of cracks up here. So looking at the screen all the time, watching what's going on. And you can kind of do this almost as a continuous line. I've done this before as a demonstration when I've not taken my pen off the page, which is a great exercise to do. And these kind of subjects are perfect for it.
It's just, you can't really put it in words what it is to see these landscapes. It's, you know, they say it's God's country, and honestly, Ian, it's just in person, it just takes your breath away. I'm so thrilled for all of those people that are signed up for this in-person workshop, because, you know, even just this last year with this group that we brought with us to Sandstone Fen, it's like you come around the corner and you just are, you know, mouth open, just inspired by this creation.
Yeah.
And it just is incredible. Ian, wondering if you could explain, someone was wondering, do you use these materials in the field? There are other things that you use in the field. We should explain how a day works with you in person, at least with Madeline Island School of the Arts.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. Yeah, let's do that. So
do you like me to, or do you want to do it? Because you're pretty good at explaining too.
Well, I'm happy for you to do it, or I don't mind. I'll do it.
What's really nice with what Ian does when he's with our workshops is he loves to have his workshop space, and so usually we go out in the morning, no matter how cold it is, we bundle up, or if it's warm, you know, we're ready for it. Ian's always prepared, always looking at the weather, and always knows sort of, whether or not we should be out or shouldn't be. Yeah, we leave about 8:30, get there at 9 usually.
Yeah.
And Ian, will basically have everyone take pictures, and then he does a demo. Just a quick outline, right? And then lets everyone take pictures of his work. And then pretty much just you stay out in the morning and you do steps 1 and 2 in the morning, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So step 1 is basically the outline. I'll just pause for a few moments. Thank you for that, Annie. I'll just pause, leave this up on the screen and people can kind of catch up. So I've done a lot of hatching. Can you see that the hatching here? So just watch the pen and see how it moves around in terms of its direction, do you see? And that's perspective. So that's adding texture, it's adding tone, and it's also emphasizing the perspective as well. And then there's a little bit of hatching going on up here as well and along there. So I'll just pause and I'll just explain steps 1 and 2. So as Annie said, we go out on location and we normally get there 9 o'clock in the morning and we spend about 3 hours outside. And I demonstrate everything. So I will demonstrate the outline stage. I do it really slowly. I sometimes do it 2 or 3 times, make sure everyone's really comfortable. Because the outline's a really big part of the process, because it's about grabbing all those big shapes to begin with, which you're going to be stuck with for the rest of the day. So you've kind of got to get them right. So the way I design the workshops is to literally throw a huge big safety net over the activity. And that's step 1, which is just done with a Tombow brush pen, or it's done with pencil, whatever you prefer. And then the next stage is we go over it with a permanent line maker and we add a lot more information. And that takes a bit longer. So by the end of the morning session, we've got all the outline drawing done. Then we break for lunch, Annie. That's about an hour, isn't it? Yeah, we go back to lunch.
Yes.
And then in the afternoon, we work in the studio and we do the more kind of technical stuff. So the next stage, step 3, is to put the colour on. And I do lots of colour theory, lots of colour charts, lots of colour mixing. But the actual colour painting stage for me only takes about 10 or 12 minutes. It's fairly quick. And then the students do theirs. Students take loads of photographs, ask lots of questions. No hard questions, just easy ones. And then the next stage is the brush pen, Tombow brush pen stage, which is kind of what you're seeing at the moment, but it's done on top of colour in a workshop. And then the final stage, which is the big one, is the detail stage, where we start using the fine liners and we do all the textures, patterns, signage, windows, all that kind of, and the whole thing takes the whole day. And then we have a throwdown, we have a critique at the end, which is always really positive, and everyone gets feedback on what they've done in a really positive way. And in between that, I tell jokes, I tell stories, we sing songs, we do urban stretching, we do dancing. It's a privilege.
It's a wonderful process, and he holds your hand through the whole thing. It just is, it's a wonderful thing to watch. Now,
can I just show everybody something, Annie? Thank you for saying all of that. But the next thing I want to show you, I think I think it's quite cool. What we talked before about inspiration and how inspiration comes, from different places. So I chatted a bit before in the book about how the cobalt turquoise permeates throughout the landscape. This colour that I saw in the jewellery shop, which was in the brooches and the necklaces, I stuck it into a landscape. Now, obviously, Ghost Ranch is where Georgia O'Keeffe had her studio. And I was inspired by a lot of the pictures of Georgia O'Keeffe that I saw. Now, if you look at this area here, it's got those wonderful Georgia O'Keeffe rock formations. So just have a little look at what I'm doing now. Look at this. This is just inspired by Georgia O'Keeffe. So it's quite stylized in a really cool way, which is what she does. I mean, obviously, I'm not quite as good as Georgia O'Keeffe, but you can know what I mean.
Speaking of Georgia O'Keeffe, our hotel is located a block from the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum in downtown Santa Fe. And that's a fun activity that people love to do after a full day of sketching, being in the workshop. It's a wonderful just sort of opportunity to go visit these museums while you're in Santa Fe, taking advantage of it.
So you see those kind of like stylized rock formations that you can see, and that's something that I picked up on when I was there, which I just found really cool. Because unless you're there, you probably wouldn't kind of appreciate that. Well, you wouldn't think to do it, I don't think, unless you were surrounded by other people's arts. So, you know, inspiration can come from colours, jewelry, other people's work, and you know, it's just great because we're always just trying to find inspiration and apply it to our own work. And there's nothing wrong in that.
A lot of times at the end of the day, Ian, people will be finished with the workshop and sometimes they feel like they, you know, the texture and detail. When do you know when to stop with that?
I think as you get towards the end of the picture, I think everyone kind of naturally starts to slow down, and you spend probably a little bit longer looking and thinking as opposed to just drawing. So at the beginning, everyone's drawing furiously because they've got so much to get down, but kind of gradually towards the end, you naturally slow down because you're getting tired. And I think people start spending longer looking at their work, and then there comes a point when you probably start to realize that everything you do is not adding to it, it's actually probably taken away. And by taking away, it's probably making things look a bit cluttered. You know, it's kind of like you put something on and you think, oh, I didn't really need to do that. It's not added anything to it. And then you perhaps do it again, maybe a few minutes later. And then you get to a point you think, actually, do you know what? Even though I'm really enjoying this and I really don't want to stop, the more I do now, I'm probably just spoiling things, you know. And kind of on that note, I'm going to stop.
Joshua, I was wondering, how would you approach a night scene? Have you ever done one like that before?
No. And do you know, Joshua, I've been asked that loads of times, and I don't really encourage people to do it. I just don't really see the benefit of doing it. Personally, I don't go chasing light that much. You know, I'm not really like into the impressionist thing. So lights doesn't, as long as the light's good, I don't really go chasing different light conditions because my skies are just empty. But I don't really encourage people to go out sketching at night time for all sorts of reasons. You know, my nearest city is Liverpool, and Liverpool's wonderful, but you don't want to be outside sketching in Liverpool. And I won't go into too much more detail, but you just wouldn't want to. It's just not the right thing to do.
Too cold.
And you can't see anything. It's cold. You can't see anything anyway, and you can't see if anybody is gonna walk up to you. So I don't encourage people to do it. Do it landscape, you see, and then if people just take a screenshot and then just rotate their photo around. Okay, so
pop it up a little higher. Yeah, there you go, Perry. Everyone else, take a great big screenshot of this. Ian, you have been so wonderful. I was just saying, you're so generous with your time, with your instruction. I know this is late for you. And I just appreciate you for helping everyone get through this. This has been wonderful, just seeing it start to finish. So thank you.
you're welcome. You're welcome. We need to do the competition now, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
We do.
Okay.
When I ask you to put it up in a few minutes, can you literally put it up for like a second or so? Is that okay? Don't put it up for very long. So when you're ready, ladies, just pop it up on the screen.
Okay, so do you want to tell everyone before they put it up what the competition is?
Of course not.
Oh, God. Okay.
No, don't do that. I think that was my first or my second demonstration sketch, wasn't it, when I came?
Oh, it's great. And you're on the plaza.
Yeah, on the plaza. Yeah. Right, let's get rid of it now, ladies. Take it away. Take it off the screen. Brilliant. Okay, guys. So the question is going to be, you need to give me the answer, and the answer is a number, and you need to put it in the chat. and the first person to give us the correct answer wins. Okay? So you're going to put a number in the chat. Don't put it in yet because you don't know what the question is.
I know.
Okay?
I'm
So
so
the
competitive.
first person to get the right answer wins. Debbie's already put 7. Debbie, you don't know what the question is, love. Come on, bear with me.
Linda
In
thinks
that
it's Twilight.
In that picture that you've just seen of the plaza, how many windows were there in that picture?
Okay, I'm looking.
Oh, really close one. Oh, we got a right answer.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
Someone
Yeah.
just put 423. I think we need a prize for that.
Who
I-
do you want to announce the winner?
Can we? Yeah. Well, I can't see who it is.
Yep, the first person that got the right answer is Anna Wanillo.
Way. Fantastic. And the right answer
Well
was,
done,
Annie?
Anna.
The right
Anna is
answer
the winner.
was
She chose the number 18, and there are 18
18.
windows. So Anna, I'm going to direct message you, and we'll get your address, and Ian will go ahead and personalize it and sign his copy of Sketching Stories. And everyone, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining us, Ian and I, tonight. For you, Ian, midday for me or evening for me on this fabulous Santa Fe webinar. I've been looking so forward to it. And, you know, I can't wait to see some of you in Santa Fe, Ian as well. It's going to be a brilliant time. Ian, you're our saint for staying up late and doing this for MISA. We appreciate you more than you even know.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Annie. And thank you, ladies in the background for supporting us and helping us with all the technical
Thank you,
stuff. And
Christy.
thank you so much to all the students for participating as well.
That was wonderful.
It's been great. And I'm so looking forward to the 2 workshops that we've got coming up next year in Arizona, first of all, and then Santa Fe. It's going to be the journey continues.
The journey continues, is right. And I'll be there alongside every time with everyone else. All right. So thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Ian, take care and happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.